There's a town in America that doesn't exist on most maps anymore. Millbrook, population 847. And here's the thing that'll make your blood run cold. That number hasn't changed in 60 years. Not 61, not 59, exactly 60. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand something before we go any further. I need you to believe me, because what I found in that town, what I became in that town, it's still happening right now. While you're listening to this, while you're going about your normal life, they're still there, still waiting, still feeding. I went to Millbrook 3 months ago. I was a journalist, you see. The kind who chased weird stories that nobody else wanted. Small-town anomalies. Statistical impossibilities. I'd heard whispers about Millbrook on a conspiracy forum. Some kid had posted about visiting his grandmother there and noticing something strange. The people looked wrong, he said. Too smooth, too preserved, like wax figures pretending to be human. I should have listened to the fear in his words. But I didn't. I packed my car, grabbed my recorder, and drove 8 hours into the mountains where Millbrook sits like a secret nobody wanted kept. The first thing I noticed when I crossed into town was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the waiting kind, like the whole place was holding its breath. Main Street looked like it had been frozen sometime in the 1980s. A hardware store with faded awnings. A diner with checkered floors visible through the window. A church at the end of the road. Whitewood and a black steeple that seemed to lean just slightly toward you no matter where you stood. I parked outside the diner. Checked my phone. No signal. Of course. Inside, there were maybe a dozen people scattered across red vinyl booths. And when I walked in, every single one of them looked up at the exact same moment. Not the casual glance you give a stranger. The kind of look a predator gives meat. Then they smiled, all at once, and went back to their coffee. The waitress who came over was beautiful in that unsettling way. Porcelain skin, not a wrinkle, not a pore. Her name tag said Dorothy, and when I asked how long she'd worked there, she said, "Oh, ages and ages," and laughed like she'd told the world's funniest joke. I ordered coffee. It came in a chipped mug, and Dorothy's hands, I noticed, didn't shake. Not even slightly, like someone who'd poured 1,000,000 cups and would pour 1,000,000 more. "You're new," she said. Statement, not question, just visiting. "I'm writing a piece about small towns in America. The forgotten ones." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Well, you found the right place. We're very good at being forgotten." I asked about the church. Couldn't help it. It dominated the skyline, pulled at your attention like gravity. Dorothy's expression shifted. Something flickered behind her eyes. Hunger, maybe, or recognition. "St. Perpetua's," she said softly. "It's the heart of our community. Has been for over 200 years. Father Wren can tell you more. He loves visitors." The way she said loves made my skin crawl. I found Father Wren that afternoon in the church office. He was tall, maybe 6'3", with silver hair and a smile that belonged on a politician. Handsome in an ageless way. Could have been 40, could have been 70. Impossible to tell. "Welcome," he said, extending a hand that was cool and dry. "We don't get many new faces in Millbrook." His office smelled like old books and something else. Something organic and wrong, like meat left too long in the sun. He talked about the church's history, the founding families, the traditions they'd kept alive for generations. And then, almost casually, he mentioned the baptism. "Everyone in Millbrook gets baptized here," he said. "Not as infants, mind you. We wait until they're 25, old enough to understand the commitment. They sacrifice." I asked what he meant by sacrifice. Father Wren's smile widened. "Sacrifice of the old self, of course. To be reborn in the waters of St. Perpetua's is to be renewed, body and soul." His eyes when he said this weren't the eyes of a priest. They were the eyes of something that had learned to wear a priest's face. I started investigating that night. Small towns keep records, and Millbrook was no exception. The library was a cramped building next to the post office, run by a woman named Margaret who looked about 30, but moved like someone who'd forgotten what it felt like to be young. I pulled census records, birth certificates, death certificates, yearbooks, and that's when I saw it. The pattern that made my hands go numb. There was a man named Robert Chun who ran the hardware store. In the 1987 yearbook, there was a photo of him at 25. Robert Chun, baseball star, bright future ahead. I'd met Robert Chun that morning. He'd sold me a bottle of water and made small talk about the weather. He looked identical, not similar, not aged well, identical. The same smooth skin, the same exact hairline, the same smile. 37 years, and he hadn't aged a single day. I found more. Jennifer Walsh, the schoolteacher, 29 in a 1985 photograph, 29 when I'd seen her walking past the diner. Dorothy, the waitress, 26 in a photo from 1994, still 26 now, 30 years later. Every single person in this town had stopped aging at exactly 25, not one day older, frozen like insects in amber. I went back to the church records, found what I was looking for in a leather-bound ledger that smelled like mildew and desperation. Baptism records. Every citizen of Millbrook, baptized on their 25th birthday. The dates went back decades, centuries, even. Names I'd seen on gravestones outside, listed here as if they'd just been baptized yesterday. But here's what made my throat close up. Next to each name was a single word in red ink, renewed. And at the bottom of each page, another word in that same red ink, fed. I touched the ink. It flaked away under my finger. Not ink at all. Something else. Something that had once been liquid and living. That's when I heard the sound beneath my feet. A slow, wet breathing, like lungs the size of rooms, pulling air through water. The church was alive, or something beneath it was. I met Sarah the next morning. She found me, actually, walked right up to my table at the diner, and sat down without asking. She was young, 26, maybe 27. But unlike everyone else in this town, she looked it. Tired eyes. A few lines starting at the corners of her mouth. The beautiful, terrible evidence of a life actually being lived. You need to leave, she said quietly. No preamble, no introduction. Who are you? Someone who made a mistake. She glanced toward the window. Outside, I could see Dorothy watching us. And beyond her, Robert from the hardware store. And beyond him, at least a dozen others. All standing, all watching, all perfectly still. I was born here, Sarah continued. Grew up here. And when I turned 25, they came for me. The whole town. Knocked on my door at dawn and told me it was time. Time for my baptism. Time to join the family. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking. My mother told me not to go. She whispered it to me when I was a little girl. Told me that on my 25th birthday, I had to refuse. I had to say no. I didn't understand then, but I do now. Why did your mother tell you to refuse? Sarah's laugh was broken glass. Because she refused too. 20 years ago. She was the last one before me. Where is she now? The silence that followed was answer enough. Sarah leaned closer. Her breath smelled like fear. They need someone to refuse. Every generation, someone has to say no. Someone has to stay mortal. Someone has to age. Someone has to feed it. Feed what? The thing in the water. The thing they baptize you in. It's old. Older than the church. Older than the town. My mother told me it was here before the first settlers came. They didn't build St. Perpetua's to worship God. They built it to contain something. To make a deal with it. I felt cold. The kind of cold that starts in your bones. What kind of deal? Eternal youth. Eternal life. For the whole town. But it comes with a price. Every generation, it needs to consume someone. Someone who refuses. Someone who keeps aging while everyone watches. And when that person reaches the end of their natural life, when they die, she didn't finish. Didn't need to. The thing in the water feeds on them. On their years. Their life force. Their aging. It drinks them dry, and in return, everyone else gets to stay young forever. Gets to stay 25 while the world turns to dust around them. I thought about Dorothy, about Robert, about Father Wren and his dead eyes. Your mother, I said. What happened to her? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She lasted 15 years. Fought it the whole time. But the thing beneath the church, it gets hungry. And when it gets hungry, the whole town feels it. They started leaving food on our porch. Then dead animals. Then they stopped looking at us altogether. Like we'd already been erased. One night, Mom told me to lock my door and not come out no matter what I heard. I was 12. I listened to her scream for 6 hours. And in the morning, she was gone. Just gone. No body. No blood. Nothing but wet footprints leading from our house to the church. Sarah wiped her eyes. I'm 26 now. I've got maybe 10 years left if I'm lucky. And you need to leave before they realize why you're really here. Why I'm really here. I'm just a journalist. Her smile was sad and knowing. No, you're not. You're the next one. They brought you here. Father Wren, Dorothy, all of them. They've been waiting for someone to wander into town asking questions. Someone curious. Someone who'd stay. My blood turned to ice water. They're going to offer you the baptism, Sarah whispered. And they're going to want you to refuse. I went to the church that night. Had to see it. Had to know if Sarah was telling the truth or if this whole town had just driven her crazy with isolation and fear. The front doors were unlocked. They always are in small towns. Places of worship don't keep people out. Except this wasn't a place of worship. Not anymore. The sanctuary was dark, lit only by moonlight through stained glass. The pews were old wood, worn smooth by generations of faithful, and at the front, behind the altar, was the baptismal font. It was larger than I expected. Not a small basin, but a pool, maybe 6 feet across, filled with water so dark it looked black. The surface was perfectly still. No ripples, no movement, but it smelled. God, it smelled like death and copper and something ancient and hungry. I approached slowly, every instinct screaming at me to run, but I had to see. I looked down into the water. My reflection looked back, but there was something else in there too. Something beneath the surface. Something with too many eyes and a mouth that stretched wider than physics should allow. Beautiful, isn't it? I spun around. Father Wren stood in the shadows near the altar. How long had he been there? How long had he been watching? The water, he continued, stepping into the moonlight. It's been here for 300 years. Longer, probably. The first settlers found it. A spring that bubbled up from somewhere deep underground. They drank from it, bathed in it, and they noticed they stopped getting sick, stopped aging, stopped dying. He walked closer. His footsteps echoed wrong in the empty church. But nothing is free. The water wanted something in return. It needed to feed, needed to consume life, to preserve life. So they made a choice. Every generation would offer one soul. One person who would refuse the water's gift. One person who would age and die so everyone else could live forever. That's insane, I whispered. Is it? Tell me, how many people die every day in the world outside this town? Thousands? Millions? All that waste, all that entropy. Here, we've conquered death, conquered time itself. We've just paid a small price for it. A human life isn't a small price. Father Wren smiled. I've been the priest of St. Perpetua's for 130 years. Do you know how many small prices that is? How many souls I've fed to the water? 43. 43 people have refused the baptism, aged, and been consumed. 43 lives in exchange for thousands of years of existence for everyone else. The math is simple. He was close now, close enough that I could see his teeth were too white, too perfect. Take me downstairs, I said. My voice shook, but I had to know, had to see. Father Wren's smile widened. Of course, you're a journalist. You want the story. He led me behind the altar to a door I hadn't noticed before. Stone steps led down into darkness that smelled like grave dirt and standing water. The basement was larger than the church above. Stone walls, dirt floor, and in the center, a well. Not a baptismal font, a well. Old stone, crumbling, with an iron grate over the top. And the smell rising from it was enough to make me gag. Around the well were offerings, photographs, clothes, jewelry, 43 piles of belongings, 43 lives reduced to trinkets and memories. Everyone who's been fed, Father Wren said quietly. We keep their things, to remember, to honor their sacrifice. I walked to the well, looked down through the grate. The water below wasn't water. It was alive, pulsing, breathing. Something vast and ancient moved in those depths. And when I looked at it, it looked back with hunger that had waited centuries. What is it? I whispered. We don't know. The elders called it different names. The sleeper, the patient one, the water that drinks. But names don't matter. What matters is the feeding. I turned to Father Wren. And what about Sarah? She's aging. She's dying. When will you feed her to this thing? His expression was almost gentle. Sarah isn't the offering. She never was. The world tilted. Sarah refused, yes. But she's not an outsider. She's one of us. Born here. Raised here. The water doesn't want her. It's already tasted our blood. Our families. Our history. He stepped closer. The water wants something new. Someone from outside. Someone who chose to come here. Someone who sought us out. My legs went weak. You, I breathed. You, he agreed. I tried to run. Of course I did. But the door at the top of the stairs was locked. And Father Wren just watched me with those ancient, patient eyes. It's already done, he said softly. Don't you understand? You drank the coffee at the diner. Dorothy made it special for you. The water from the well. Just a few drops. Enough to mark you. Enough for it to taste you. I remembered. The coffee had tasted off. Metallic. Like old copper. We've been watching you since you crossed into town. Father Wren continued. We knew you'd come eventually. Someone always does. Someone curious. Someone who doesn't believe in monsters. We just had to wait. Sarah, I said. The pieces falling into place. Sarah was bait. Sarah was kindness. We let her refuse. Let her age. Let her live for a while. Because we needed someone to tell you the truth. Someone you'd believe. Someone who'd make you afraid enough to investigate. Afraid enough to come to the church alone. He was right. Every step I'd taken had been choreographed. Every choice I'd made had been predicted. The baptism, I said. You're going to force me. No. We're going to offer you. That's the rule. You have to choose. Free will is essential. The water won't accept a sacrifice that doesn't consent. Then I refuse. Father Wren's smile was triumphant. Yes, that's exactly what we need you to say. The truth hit me like a sledgehammer. They didn't want me to accept the baptism. They wanted me to refuse. Because refusing meant aging, meant dying, meant being consumed while the whole town watched and fed. And if I accept, my voice cracked, then you become one of us. 25 forever, young forever, perfect forever, but the water still needs to feed. And we'll have to wait for someone else to wander into town. Someone else to refuse. Could be years. Decades. The thing beneath the church is patient, but when it gets hungry, it makes its displeasure known. He gestured to the well. Something moved down there. Something massive. So what will it be? Eternal youth and the guilt of knowing someone else will die in your place? Or will you refuse and give yourself to the water? Martyr yourself so everyone else can keep living. My hands were shaking. I looked at the well. At Father Wren. At the door that wouldn't open. There's a third option, I said. No, Father Wren said. There isn't. But there was. There had to be. I turned and ran at the well. Not to look into it. To jump. Father Wren lunged for me. But he was too slow. Or maybe he was too surprised. Either way, I hit the iron grate with my full weight, and it gave way, ancient metal screaming as it broke. I fell. The water caught me. And oh God, it wasn't water. It was mouth. It was throat. It was everything hungry and patient and wrong in the universe. I felt it tasting me, feeling me, learning me, and then I felt something else. Bargaining. The thing in the well spoke without words, offered without speaking. It had fed on refused sacrifices for 300 years, fed on the aging, the dying, the slow, inevitable march toward death. But what if it could have something else? What if instead of one life, every generation, it could have all of them? Every person in Millbrook, every preserved, perfect, eternally young body. I could give it that. I could refuse the bargain, break the deal, let the water have what it had been owed for centuries. Or I could accept, become one of them, let the cycle continue, let the next outsider stumble into town in 20 years. In 50, in 100, the water waited for my choice. And in the darkness, drowning in something that was and wasn't water, I made it. I'm still in Millbrook. It's been 3 months since I fell into the well. 3 months since I made my choice. The town is empty now. Every house, every building, every street. Just me and Sarah walking through the silence. The others are gone. Not dead. Gone. Taken by the water when I refused to join them. When I chose to break the bargain instead of perpetuate it. The thing in the well consumed them all in a single night. Drank down 300 years of stolen time and perfect, preserved flesh. Sarah survived because she'd already refused. Already been marked. The water didn't want her. And me? I survived because I'm still deciding. The water gave me a gift for breaking the bargain. A consolation prize. Or maybe a curse. I haven't decided yet. I'm aging. Normally. Naturally. Every day. I get a little older. I can see it in the mirror. Lines forming. Gray hairs appearing. The beautiful, terrible evidence of a life actually being lived. But the water is still down there. Waiting. Patient. And sometimes, late at night, I hear it whisper. It tells me the bargain is still available. Eternal youth. Eternal life. All I have to do is find someone else. Bring them to Millbrook. Make them curious. Make them afraid. Make them choose. I haven't yet, but I think about it. God help me, I think about it. Because I can feel myself aging now. Feel my body breaking down. Feel time claiming what's rightfully his. And the water knows. It tastes my fear. My doubt. My selfish, human desire to live forever. So here's why I'm telling you this story. Here's why I'm recording this and putting it out into the world. I need you to know that Millbrook exists, that it's real, that the church is still standing and the well is still full and the water is still hungry. And I need you to know that if you ever see a town that doesn't exist on most maps anymore, if you ever find yourself in a place where everyone looks just a little too perfect, a little too preserved, don't stop. Don't ask questions. Don't drink the coffee, because the water is patient and it's always looking for someone to feed. And the worst part? The part that keeps me awake at night? I'm starting to forget what it felt like to refuse.